The difference between a con man and a successful businessman is whether or not everyone else has identified them as a successful businessman. It's the confidence that the market has in Elon Musk. And he has a lot of confidence.
Because if Mark Zuckerberg taught us nothing else, it's that it's really great for society when one weird billionaire owns the major arteries of free speech and information distribution. I think this person necessitates his own video because he doesn't just typify the genre of super wealthy ruling oligarch class that we currently have, with our current levels of wealth inequality in this country being basically unseen since the Gilded Age. He also represents what I feel is our incredibly strange cultural relationship to these figures as opposed to other times in history. Because while I don't doubt that there were some Vanderbilt and Rockefeller stands living in the tenement buildings back in the Gilded Age, it's pretty fair to say that the overall relationship that society had toward those massive cultural figures was at the time not super positive. And it was in many ways just that very wealth inequality and righteous indignation at the ruling class, most of which was inherited, which led to the massive labor movements we saw in the early 20th century. And we are starting to see a similar labor revival, pointedly against figures like Jeff Bezos at Amazon with the new Amazon Labor Union, or Howard Schultz of Starbucks with the rapidly unionizing Starbucks cafes around the country.
Is this so fucking cool-ass channel? What the fuck?
It does seem like we are starting to understand that people being this rich and having so much control and essentially being treated as god kings is not super healthy for a democracy. But this person we're diving in today doesn't just continue to be able to fail upwards in terms of business and finances. He also has a surprisingly resilient perception as a boy wonder, genius, inventor, scientist, second coming of Nikola Tesla that really isn't borne out by his actual CV. And also, he has just the worst stands.
True.
Truly, if you're out here simping for a billionaire, get it together. Now, who am I talking about?
I love
We're,
the channel
of course,
now.
talking about the Prince of PayPal, the Tesla tyrant, the second most divorced man in space, after Jeff Bezos, the aptly once crowned by Azalea Banks apartheid Clyde, father of 17 kids and counting. That's an exaggeration, but not by a ton. The one and only Elon Musk. Now, whether or not Musk is going to become the new owner of Twitter may be making him newsworthy in this very moment, but ultimately the fact that he's even in that position, by many metrics the richest man in the world, and regarded as someone who should be the new arbiter of cultural communication standards despite basically no qualifications for that job, is kind of the least of our worries. Overall, Elon Musk represents not just the fact that once you have a certain amount of money in our current economy, it's basically impossible to fail. He also represents...
I think Elon literally has like 8 kids or something, one of which just disowned him, actually. But yeah, he has a lot of kids. Bro, he had 2 with Grimes. Like, he just can't stop having kids. 8! Motherfucker, I was right. He has 8 kids, bro. 8 minus 1. So 7 now.
How good PR is able to overcome basically anything else. And depending on the circles you run in online, you may feel like you are overwhelmed with information about how many times that man has messed up. Like viral listicles about the worst things he's ever said. Or big failures like the 1.5 million Teslas that have been recalled this year alone.
Which is funny because it's like when that shit happens, or when you factor in how long it takes for your fucking Tesla to get like fixed, if you, God forbid, have to send it in, people still defend it aggressively. I don't know if it's because they also own stock or because they've invested into like Elon the person and the culture, but goddamn, is it fucking crazy. I've never actually seen, he's rich, bro, he can afford 8 kids. Yeah, no shit. I have never actually seen, like, I've never seen a group of individuals who are so heavily invested in the fucking cult that like, that they're just straight up are like, nah, it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't. Like, remember when the fucking massive recall happened? And everyone was like, bro, it's not that big of a deal. It's just like the backup camera breaks, when the backup camera breaks because of the way that it's built in the trunk. Like, it's just fine. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, is that fine? Like, I don't think it's fine, dude. I'm gonna be honest. Like, that just seems like shitty design. And so many people, I've seen so many fucking people, and I feel like people are more and more people are just waking up to this now. But people are just now starting to recognize that like a lot of the Teslas are built like dog shit. Like they are designed poorly and it's very inconsistent.
or the former employees suing for racial discrimination practices, or the hundreds of Tesla workers contracting COVID, or the Teslas catching on fire, or the major public sexual harassment scandals or environmental damage of his various companies, or the abject failure that has been the work of the Boring Company to present, or his constant wading into subjects for which he is absolutely not an expert, like COVID, which he famously proclaimed would be over by April 2020.
Technically, he just said April. Actually, it could be April 2024. You don't know that. This is biased and nitpicky. Bye-bye, I win.
Or gendered pronouns, which is rich coming from a man whose 75th son is just named a bunch of keyboard mashing. Or him claiming that things like his famous underground tunnels with the Boring Company would be immune to surface weather conditions, resulting in many people inundating him with pictures of flooded subways. Or his libelous exchanges that most people would get fired for, like when he called one of the rescuers of the 2018 Thai tunnel operation a pedophile. If you're aware of these things, it can seem absolutely mind-boggling that not only does Musk keep getting new chances, but that he's beloved by so many of his stans, and even just normal people who don't pay really close attention to what he's doing. But it cannot be overstated that we have created an economy and a relationship to extreme wealth that makes it almost impossible to fail once you've achieved a certain level of success. It's reminding me of that famous fact.
Technically, that is South African slang. Man, shut the fuck up. That's how he got away with it, but like, that's bullshit, dude. That's literally what he said in court. He said, I was just memeing. Bro, he literally, didn't he hire like private investigators to like actually try to dig into this dude's background to figure out if he was a pedo or not? Yeah, it wasn't just slang, you fucking simp. Oh, he's just kidding. Okay, got it.
That if Donald Trump hadn't just tried a bunch of his business over the years and had just invested his initial inheritance in well-diversified low-fee index funds, he'd actually be better off today than he is. Wealth begets wealth. Fame begets fame. And in the case of Elon Musk, the perception of success begets opportunities for more success. And yes, there is the rich white male factor when it comes to Elon. Because although it would be lazy to say that that's the entire reason he's been given so many chances, it's not totally untrue. After all, history is filled with well-documented bounce-backs for rich white guys for well-documented monstrosity. Sean Penn has had more than 25 years of documented assault charges, as well as accusations of intimate partner violence, but during that time has also starred in many blockbuster movies and won Oscars. And while we're on the subject of Oscars, I guess Will Smith probably shouldn't have slapped Chris Rock, but the fact that Roman Polanski was convicted for the rape of a 13-year-old, that's no biggie. And everyone from Bill Clinton to Louis C.K. to Mel Gibson are all people with credible allegations of serious wrongdoing who have managed to either fully skate by or to forge comebacks for themselves after their alleged cancellations. We talk a lot about cancel culture in this society, but outside of rare cases, and no surprise, many of the most notable ones like Colin Kaepernick are for people who are not white guys, it is very rare to see a person who, once they've passed a certain level of succch, has actually seen all of their wealth, privilege, and in many cases fame
about why he gets away with a lot of shit, and she just like said that it's because he's a rich white guy. That factors into it, certainly.
Accusations or outright convictions of wrongdoing. Basically, if something isn't sending you to jail, you're going to be doing more comedy shows within the next few months. And you add to that the immense wealth of someone like Musk, and you're basically Teflon. And to be more specific, Musk's net worth of $252 billion is more than 3,360 times more than that of Bill Clinton's estimated net worth. So we're talking about serious insulation from any kind of consequences, even when compared to a former president. But his race and gender and social class are just not enough to explain his particular level of resilience and good PR. So what is it that makes Musk so immune to his own failures? And I actually think it's probably largely a result of the fact that his failures exist in a completely different stratosphere than how we're used to thinking. And when it comes to our inability to conceptualize the numbers and scale that we're actually talking about here, this is one of the primary reasons that we have a—
Bro, I don't care about Rudy Giuliani being assaulted, okay? Yes.
Okay,
that's the assault.
Back to the finance lady.
Yeah.
A really difficult time being as disgusted and outraged as we—
Guys, one Michael Treacy almost died of this. You guys think this is a joke?
Who's Michael Treacy?
Michael Treacy, famous at the time Young Turks journalist, almost died when Maxine Waters literally assaulted Michael Treacy, unironically in a similar capacity. Okay? It's not funny. It's not a joke. That man should go to jail just like Will Smith, who is in jail right now.
We truly should be about things like rampant wealth inequality. Because, for example, there is no shortage of content out there demonstrating just how incomprehensible $1 billion actually is. In one 2011 paper, Michael Norton and Dan Ariely argued that we so rarely see wealth represented in a visual scale, which is why Americans consistently underestimate the value of the super rich. And in the 2014 article, How to Comprehend Incomprehensibly Large Numbers, George Dvorsky argues that there are actually cognitive barriers to recognizing or contextualizing that $1 billion is 1,000 times bigger than 1 million and what that actually means. So already even having 1 billion means someone is worth far more, 1,000 times more, than most Americans will ever earn in their lifetime. Now you have to multiply that by about 252, and you're getting to the current net worth of Elon Musk, which you then also have to put in the context of his trajectory. In just 2015, Musk was reportedly worth $13.3 billion, which is roughly the current GDP of Bhutan, Fiji, and Barbados put together. So still, obviously, an enormous amount of money. But in just 7 years, that net worth has increased to 250.
Because he worked hard. What does this woman not understand?
Dude,
he worked
is
hard.
She familiar with his bootstraps?
Yeah, he fucking found his bootstraps and he picked himself up by said bootstraps. He worked hard and he worked smart, okay? That's exactly how we got here.
$2 billion. And if you want to compare that to a country, that is roughly the same size as the GDP of Portugal. So let it sink in for a second that Musk could, if he wanted to, buy all of Portugal and turn it into a free speech haven. But also that means that in 7 years alone, Musk's net worth increased by 1,700.
Oh shit, I forgot, Marat. How could we forget? He took a risk. He did. He took so many risks.
194%. And compare that to the average American. In 2015, according to the US Census Bureau, the median American net worth was $88,050. If they'd followed Musk's trajectory, they would now have a net worth of $1,580,233. The most recent Federal Reserve data, however, shows that the median American net worth as of 2019 was only $121,670, meaning that
works 16 hours a day, gives 1,000%, hustles and grinds nonstop. You guys are just haters, bro.
No one's arguing he doesn't work hard.
Wait, what? Oh, no, he's just joking. Elon Musk more like Elon Husk of a human being? Okay, he's just fucking kidding, dude. Jesus Christ. Dude, that was so good. Holy fuck. That dude emulated Elon Musk stands to a T, okay? I thought that was like a real comment. Because I see it so much.
That the gains that the average American has made in terms of their net worth in the same amount of time is infinitesimally smaller than what Musk has been able to do. When we start to think of these numbers in any kind of context, it is inevitable that we will come to the right conclusion that absolutely no one individual should have the same economic power as the entire nation of Portugal.
The only thing that we should be excited by is the fact that Elon Musk at least wasn't born in America, so we can't be the fucking president. Unless we like change it specifically so we can make Elon Musk the president. Which can happen, and I really hope I did not wish that on the planet on accident, okay?
But this is where the tech bros will often jump in and point to the fact that just because Musk has $252 billion doesn't mean it's all liquid. Meaning,
fuck, man. Dude, bro, by the way, this channel's awesome. I had no idea this existed. I'm a big fan right now of what she said. But that's my favorite. That's why, Jeffrey Bezos famously, not the richest person, one of the richest people on the planet, exclusively,
he makes 80 grand, dude.
Yeah, he only makes $80,000 in liquid cash, dude. You're fucking stupid, bro. Yeah, I'm the smart one, actually.
Obviously that it's tied up in things like the value of the shares of ownership he has in things like Tesla, and therefore couldn't just be used to spend however he wants. But no one is talking about whether Musk is going to swipe his debit card and be declined at CVS buying gum. Net worth applies to what you own and what you control, and when still fewer than half of US millennials own a home, and 41% of millennials reportedly have less than $15,000 in personal savings, it is safe to say that Elon Musk has access to a lot more financial power than you or any of your friends, most likely more than all of you put together. And just because that money isn't liquid doesn't mean the value of his assets can't be leveraged to do things like, for example, possibly buy Twitter. So the completely different and in many ways incomprehensible scale that Musk is operating on means that even very fundamental concepts like risk and failure are existing in two completely different universes for an average American and for someone like Elon Musk. For the average millennial, a big risk might be considered buying a fixer-upper home that you're not sure you can make enough money off of to offset the cost of repairing, or quitting a job to go freelance. And even if you were looking to be an entrepreneur, Like Elon. We're talking about an infinitesimally smaller scale. Point of Sale Nation estimated in 2021 that if one were to open a retail store, while expenses differ from city to city, you should expect to spend about $100,000 in your first year of business. Now say you do that for a year and you fail. Assuming you're one of those median level Americans with a net worth of about $120,000, you have just lost about 82% of what you're worth. Contrast that with Elon Musk. On April 21st of this year, Tesla's stock shrunk by $125 million, which resulted in Musk's personal net worth going down by about $30 million. Sounds like a lot, right? Except that considering his net worth of $252 billion, that $30 million represents just 0.012 of his total net worth. If you're one of those
we got to get those numbers up.
That's the equivalent of you losing $14.60. And in the context of Twitter, if he were to take over Twitter and it were to go dormant tomorrow, highly unlikely, he would have only lost 17% of his net worth. For that median American with a net worth of $120,000, that's like losing 20 grand. It would probably sting for a while, but you'd be okay. In fact, Elon Musk is at a point where his risks should no longer even be viewed at through the prism of individuals or really even human beings. The risks that he's taking...
To be fair, though, if Twitter went insolvent, like immediately after purchase, I feel like he would lose a lot more because I think that would, given the way that Elon Musk operates, all of his assets and all of his companies are tied into one another, and therefore that would tank Tesla stocks as well because he also bought or leveraged his Tesla stocks against the Twitter purchase. So, you know, it's at this point it's like a deck of cards. So one major fumble will collapse the entirety of. You don't think so?
No, there's too much. And also,
bro,
we're talking about these companies tumbling like they're bad gambles. Like they employ hundreds of thousands.
That would not happen. The Twitter thing would not happen. I'm just saying in a theoretical world what it did.
There are normalizing forces at play here, right? So it wouldn't just go away.
There are a lot of rich people who are invested into Tesla, which is a Fortune 500 company, right? It is, I think. Yeah, it is.
Doesn't matter. There's a lot of people invested in Tesla, period, right?
Yeah. So clearly there would be a lot of people who have a lot of money, a lot of investments who would not want it to fail. However, every single financial analyst from start to finish that is not speaking after taking Elon's dick out of their mouths has been talking about having a short position on Tesla for a long ass time. It's so weird that like you rarely ever see this level of consensus on how overvalued a stock is, and yet it still doesn't matter. Wrong? That's not wrong. What are you talking about? I love that this chat swings by who they like more because like you're literally agreeing with Murat and saying that Tesla stock is not overvalued, or
it is. I didn't say it wasn't
or
overvalued.
it wouldn't blow up.
I'm saying Elon Musk is too big to fail.
People invest in Tesla just because they want to sell, not because they actually believe Tesla is that great.
That is also true.
It was kicked from the S&P 500. Hello. They all short Tesla, lose the bet, and then end up fueling Tesla. Every single stock is overvalued. It's literally just a wiggly line.
They're not wrong.
I mean, you're right.
Except Boeing.
And with people and organizations for whom they have implications should be looked at as corporate decision making, or even on par with governmental decision making.
Murat, are you saying buy Boeing?
That is not at all what I'm saying.
Murat's not saying that. It's not financial advice. Also, there's a conflict of interest. Murat works for Boeing.
Yeah.
Okay, please do not sue us.
Because when we talk about corporate level or governmental level decision making, you have to take into account many people besides yourself. Elon Musk's net worth may be barely dented by one of his companies seeing its stock plummet, but all of the retail investors who have significant amounts of their wealth tied up in that stock, or the many employees of that company who might be laid off overnight because of falling short in an earnings call, are way more impacted by Elon Musk's decision than he is himself. This is also reflected in the flippancy with which he'll tweet about things that greatly influence stock prices. Something the SEC has rightfully come after him before, but something that perfectly illustrates the level of power imbalance we feel comfortable giving to one man. When we look back at things like the age of monarchy in Europe, it can be really difficult to understand how people would be okay with a system in which a bunch of dynastic, unqualified, and quite frankly, not genetically sending their best freaks in powdered wigs were able to rule over an entire continent with unquestioned authority.
I talked about this yesterday. I love when people talk about how, feudalism operated under similar principles, that or the entire system was sold to the average person. The mechanism of control under that you see under capitalism is just it's just a different word for it. Meritocracy.
Anyone have supported monarchy. And it's not a perfect comparison, but I do think a stroll around the absolute hero worship that people like Elon Musk receives from average everyday people who in many cases can barely afford to pay their bills, let alone build wealth at even 1/billionth the scale that he is, gives you an idea of how people can get in their heads that certain people are just better than us and deserve to be able to crush us under their wheels. Because while it's easy to think that Elon Musk is pretty reviled if you spend your social media time on places like Twitter, where he is very frequently and satisfyingly getting his handed to him, switch the tab over to LinkedIn, or even dive into his own mentions, and you'll see the extent to which people are just absolutely caping for that guy. And no matter how abhorrent some of his views or how wrong they are quickly proven to be, almost everything will be written off as nobody's right 100% of the time, or he's just a provocateur. Now, people have always looked up to millionaires, billionaires, and entrepreneurs, but the advent of social media and stan culture and the increase in the number of billionaires and most of their individual net worths over time have kicked entrepreneur hero worship into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
In a 2018 column, entrepreneur, consultant, and writer Anna Johansson wrote about the rising hero worship of entrepreneurs and how it has real-world consequences on average everyday people. How people who become fans of entrepreneurs often fall victim to survivorship bias, because most visible entrepreneurs are the few who made it as opposed to the many who fail. Johansson's article also goes on to talk about how this hero worship makes people justify bad behavior and perpetuates the myth of meritocracy, which...
Listen, bro, anytime someone's shitting on meritocracy, I'm with you. Ride or die. Meritocracy is a lie. Literally, look at me. I'm the perfect example of that.
As we've covered many times on this channel,
that guy looks like you. This guy?
Yeah. When you look at America's overall low social mobility for a developed country, as well as the fact that most people who become extremely wealthy were born into some level of wealth. And especially with the complete collapse of expertise in the light of things like fake news and public health misinformation, when we already have hero worship over a public figure, over maybe their limited success in a specific area, if there's even that, we tend to view a lot of what they do or say as being innovative or worth listening to, even if it's completely removed from their area of expertise. For example, Elon Musk is currently positioning himself as the potential savior of free speech, but absolutely nothing in his professional history would give an indication that he's qualified to be that arbiter. And more importantly, with how aggressive he has been about stamping out possible unionization in his companies, anyone who's interested in labor rights would be pretty concerned that someone who claims to be so pro-free speech is so thoroughly against it when that speech has to do with organizing for better working conditions. And that's only the tip of the iceberg of subjects that he has been completely unqualified to weigh into, yet does. Because once you get that genius moniker, which in many cases for Musk was absolutely sealed with the immense popularity of the Iron Man figure, which was ostensibly based on Elon Musk, it can be incredibly hard to lose that air of genius, and even the most dubious stories will be used to further boost its legitimacy. For example, part of Musk's origin story that a lot of fans point to is that Musk developed an interest in computers when he was just 10 years old because he loved video games. And through that interest, he learned to code, and by age 12, coded the PC game Blastar and sold the code for $500. Now, while this can be framed as though 10-year-old Musk was a scrappy wonderkid ahead of his time, it ignores that expressing an interest in computers and coding as young as 12 is not actually that rare. Sure, in the early 80s, kid-friendly coding was not as ubiquitous as it is.
This motherfucker was making robots at that age, right?
Yeah.
You were already making robots at that age. Yeah.
12 would be 7th grade. Yeah, probably before that too.
Yeah. And also breaking every fucking piece of technological equipment in his near vicinity. A fact that has not unfortunately changed, despite the fact that you are now a paid engineer that builds satellites.
No, I don't break them at work. I break them here.
You don't break them at work, but you have to break them. So you come into my house and you break everything here.
You're doing humanity a service.
Yeah.
Hassan.
Thanks, man. Thank you. This motherfucker will sit in my car, and the first thing he does, sits down in the passenger seat immediately, boop, 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 pressing all the buttons. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I want to change the AC vents. Why? You didn't have to change it at all. He's like, no, I wanted to change some stuff around. Immediately. He cannot help himself, dude. Anyway, that's totally unrelated.
is now, but BASIC, the language in which Musk coded his first game, was an extremely popular coding language. And there were
because it's so fucking annoying. You're always
like you don't have to tell the whole world about it.
You love that
tell
shit.
Tell mom and dad, all right?
I did tell mom and dad, but they know already. I'm telling. I already told mom and dad. They already know. They laugh because they know how you are.
Did you also tell them about the auto temperature story?
Oh my god, you're so dumb, dude. Yo. This is the dumbest thing to fucking tell the stream. Literally. Like, Murad has a Porsche as well. And he thinks his old-ass Porsche genuinely has, like, actual auto climate control. And it doesn't. It literally doesn't.
Okay, first of all, it was the Lexus. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Even better. Exactly. An old-ass Lexus that does not actually have auto climate control in it. But he would literally act like it did have auto climate control.
Dude, auto climate control is not that difficult of a thing. It just regulates the temperature.
It did not exist. Like, that was not a real thing inside of your Lexus.
What do you mean? That was a feature of the vehicle.
He personally thought that this old ass Lexus had like it would maintain it at like 69 degrees.
Okay, somebody please pull up 2004 Lexus RX dual zone climate and show him the specs, because for some reason Hasan doesn't believe in that.
My 07 Lexus has auto climate. Anyway, so he had auto climate on it, and we would like crank it up. We would crank it up to like,
I would be like, no, like leave it at this temperature. Yeah. The car will figure it out and we'll get there.
Yeah, he would, and
everyone
wouldn't.
Kept pressing the button.
And it wouldn't.
Of course it would.
It literally did not. It literally did not. And for the record, I still sometimes crank up the fucking AC in the Porsche.
So for years they made fun of me for this, right? They're like, oh no, if you get in Murad's car, don't press the AC button. Oh, he'll yell at you.
Because it doesn't matter, because sometimes it's too hot, and instead of letting the car regulate the temperature, you still have to do it. So
Hasan gets this new car, right? And we get in it one morning, we're going to go get breakfast or something, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of hot in here. So I turn up the AC, and he's like, don't touch that. It's set to automatic climate control. Don't mess with my settings. And I'm like, bro, are you kidding me right now? He's like, no, what are you talking about? This is the most logical thing in the world. And I'm like, no, like you've made fun of me for this for years.
Because your car didn't work.
You guys
because your car didn't work. Because it didn't work in your car. Because it didn't work in your car. And also, even then,
you're out of your mind.
Okay, so if it worked in your car, why did you do it in mine?
Because my personal preference.
Oh.
Listen, hear me out.
Wait. You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say.
Different than yours. That was the problem when you guys were in my car too.
Ah, interesting. So wait, are you meaning to tell me that like sometimes it's valid to want to crank up the AC instead of let the auto climate control do its work?
It is. However, that's not what the argument you guys were making.
So that's what
you were saying. It wasn't working.
So that's why we were making fun of you.
It's just my preference.
So that's why we were making fun of you. Got it. Okay, because like you were doing the exact same thing that you were complaining about now. Got it.
Oh, dude.
You know it's true. You know it's true.
Everyone here knows I'm telling the truth.
No, that you're just trying to rely on your stands right now in the chat to be like, oh, Giga Hasmaran.
I don't even know what that means, dude.
Exactly. Regardless of auto climate control, sometimes you still need to 100% manually change the AC.
Sure, but that's not why you guys made fun of me. You said
we made fun of you because in your car, auto climate control never worked. So I did not even believe. I did not even believe it was real.
Hasan actually is he propagates misinformation like this.
Wow. Attacking me.
Toyota and Lexus, famously known for having automobiles that don't work, for having AC.
Toyotas are wonderful. So are Lexuses.
What is this? Civic, bro?
You probably broke it though.
Civics have a big problem with their ACs. That's the.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
They got that VTEC though. Okay, let's finish this video.
In fact, campaigns encouraging kids all around the world to use BASIC. Now, does that mean he wasn't smart? No, but there is a difference between a smart kid and a successful kid. Plenty of kids can and have learned to code, especially languages like BASIC, and would never approach even a fraction of the success that Musk had. I'm not here to make this about my famously 6'4" husband again, but fun fact is that my husband went to engineering school, an elite engineering school, and he had a textbook on one of the coding languages, and he was like, this textbook is poorly written. So he completely rewrote the textbook for free in his spare time, gave it to his professor, and he was like, I'm using this instead. They since adopted that textbook and use it in school.
Did they publish it and then sell it, every copy of it for $250 each?
No, he still has all his hair. One thing we can't take away from Musk, though, I mean, that's some amazing hair transplant work.
No, because it's like he still lost it.
Can we say that he went to Turkey to get that?
I don't know. Did he? He probably did. I mean, he hangs out in like You know all those motherfuckers go to Ege. That's like a big spot for like, that's where Jeff Bezos parks his yacht and shit. Did you know that?
It makes sense. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's like a big spot for all the Ege, the Aegean Sea, for the uninitiated. He probably did go to. I mean, I don't know if he went to Turkey for it. I feel like at that level, you could just like
you
literally
can get anywhere you want.
Right, you could like fly out a Turkish doctor to your house. But Bill Gates goes to the Aegean Sea too, and that's also where Jeff Bezos goes to.
Like off a freeway in LA. Some amazing stuff. But why is it that Musk just doing like normal nerd when he was a kid suddenly becomes part of his hero worship? It's probably to do with what kind of kid Elon Musk was. And again, one of the reasons why it's been basically impossible for him to financially fail, and even stranger that people tend to frame him as this bootstrappy entrepreneur. Because Elon's father, Errol Musk, described the family in Elon's early years as having so much money at times we couldn't close our safe. That's a quote. In the mid-'80s, Errol Musk spent 40,000 pounds to become a part owner of a Zambian emerald mine.
Nice.
Elon Musk has said on Twitter that his father, quote, never owned an emerald mine. However, public accounts, including quotes from Errol Musk himself, state that he did indeed own.
Damn, bro, shit was cheap as hell. You can't even buy a fucking... Bro, what the fuck?
Dude, you can't buy
try buying a fucking... Try putting a down payment on a house for that money, okay? Good luck, dude. That is so crazy.
Half the mine shares. Fast forward to Musk's adult years. Again, you'll probably see some Thinkfluencer inspiration porn infographic about how when he was 23, after founding Zip2, Musk and his brother slept in their rented office and showered at the Y because they couldn't afford their own apartments and that they'd paid for college all by himself. However, he has been very inconsistent when recounting how much help he actually received. Because in a 2017 interview with Rolling Stone, Musk said that his father tried to take credit for his success, including being an early investor for Zip2. Musk said this was irrelevant and bragged about how he paid for college by himself and that the funding was raised from, quote, a small group of random angel investors.
That's a really good point. Literally Kim Il-sung level of hagiography. We do. It is a funny thing that we do. Another thing I talk about all the time. On this broadcast is like in Western capitalist nations, we take the exact same concepts that we Orientalize and consider barbaric in Eastern nations and turn it into our version of it, which is somehow elevated to a different status. Propaganda and marketing is the terminology for the exact same kind of fucking bullshit lies that like a dictator will be able to write about himself. Straight up. It's just, but it's normal. It's just, that's business. You know what I mean? You're turning your myth making about yourself. You're myth making about yourself specifically for capitalist purposes. So it's different. Lobbying is different than corruption or bribery because it's codified. You know, it's totally different. It's not slave labor that's happening in our prison systems. It's just, it's just prison labor. Different. We don't have gulags. We have prisons. We don't have work camps. We have prisons. Same shit. It's just a different seasoning.
In Silicon Valley. However, just 2 years later, he confirmed on Twitter that his father did in fact provide $20,000 of funding in a later round. And it's easy to see how Musk has worked overtime to perpetuate his self-made man myth, because it's precisely the thing that he and billionaires like Jeff Bezos rely on, because it's frankly sexier than saying that they achieved what they did due primarily to luck and exploitation. Elon and Kimball Musk did do some great work on Zip2, landing accounts for the New York Times and Chicago Tribune. But they also managed to sell that company for $307 million in cash after 4 years, with Elon getting $22 million for his 7% share. But from there, he went on to found payments company X.com, which eventually merged with PayPal's then parent company Confinity to avoid competition. And here's another great example of getting rewarded for failure. Even after being...
That was luck too. That's a big factor in it. Luck plays a significant role in every step of this process. It's impossible to avoid probability, obviously. But in this circumstance, like even PayPal, even XCOM and the merger was tremendously lucky for someone like Elon Musk.
Being ousted from his leadership position by the X.com board and replaced with Peter Thiel, Musk still managed to reap huge monetary benefits from the sale of PayPal to eBay. He received $175.8 million as its largest shareholder, and about $100 million of that would be what Musk used to start SpaceX. Now, was Musk smart to ensure that he held adequate share in the company? Yes. And did this ensure that he benefited monetarily from its sale even after he was no longer in a leadership position? Also yes. But when you already have the capital to make such investments, once again, you reduce the risk, which we talked about earlier, that something as silly as getting fired will result in financial ruin. Now, this could easily be...
Someone said the 04 Lexus RX 330 did come with climate control, but was known to fail. Wow.
Dude, they're haters.
Bro, the truth is fucking hard to comprehend sometimes, okay?
Bro, I can't wait to find out what...
I love that emote. We don't use Hasan regularly. You should read the book Outliers. It explains how rich people like Bill Gates worked hard, but they also got outrageously lucky. Brother, you think my ass didn't read Malcolm Gladwell, dude? Of course I did. Embarrassing enough. Embarrassing to admit now, but yes, I have read Outliers.
Turned into a folksy tale, and it has on
Back
the
when I
internet
used to
about
read
how poor
books.
Elon was fired because he and Peter Thiel disagreed on Microsoft versus Unix, but look at him now.
Also,
but
he
ensuring
sucked.
that you remain a shareholder in the company you founded isn't some dramatic revenge
Buying PayPal matters way more than the people who actually coded it, bro. Hustle more and hate less. I love this chatter now.
scheme. It's just how business works. And after X.com, you see a long pattern of Elon Musk's wealth building exponentially because he's been able to get in on the ground floor. For example, he invested $6.5 million in Tesla in 2006, just 3.7% of his payout from the PayPal sale. And last year, the company brought in $53.8 billion in revenue. And by the way, despite the widely celebrated drop in Tesla's stock price last week, as of market close on April 29, it was valued at $870.76 per share, representing an 11% drop over 5 days. It's actually fluctuated all year, has been lower several times this calendar year, and is still up nearly 30% year over year. Elon's long-term success with companies has essentially been the old adage of buy low, sell high, but at a quantity that most people cannot begin to personally comprehend. In boring terms, founding a company, earning money when you sell it 4 years later, putting that money into a new company and earning more what that company sells is fairly normal for an entrepreneur. But earning $5.5 million from Zip2, putting that into X.com, and receiving $175.8 million from the sale of PayPal is not something that most entrepreneurs can identify with. Essentially, his story is a fairly normal business story working with really abnormal numbers. And the sheer scale of his wealth, and the fact that so much wealth, even if just placed in boring index funds, will continue to beget unbelievable amounts of additional wealth, makes it so that even many of his abject failures, like we discussed at the beginning, don't even make a dent into his overall net worth and his mythos. It is important that we have at minimum a critical relationship with extreme wealth accumulation in our society because we have ample data to show that the more extreme wealth inequality becomes, the worse it is for our entire democracy. But specifically in the case of Elon Musk, it is worth asking ourselves why so many of us are so quick to protect, defend, and even mythologize for someone whose wealth in large part was made the old-fashioned way, being born wealthy, getting pretty lucky, and then just continuing to let your money work for you in various ways. It's not to say Elon Musk isn't smart or didn't have...
No, the greatest thing that Elon Musk does is nearly identical to Steve Jobs. He is very good at marketing. Steve Jobs is very good at marketing Apple. Elon Musk is very good at marketing Elon Musk. Sometimes he's good at marketing Elon Musk's properties, but most of the time he's just marketing Elon Musk. And in the way that our heavily financialized corporate structure and the way that the economy works, if you are a single man, if you're a key man, which in most other circumstances would be seen as like a negative to the asset that we're talking about, Elon Musk is able to ride stock prices extra high by just being Elon Musk and doing Elon Musk shit, which is, I guess, how else can I put this? A con man that sometimes delivers, but most of the time is conning. But as long as he's like sometimes delivering, then that's fine. We will continue giving him money, especially because the difference between a con man and a successful businessman is whether or not everyone else has identified them as a successful businessman. It's the confidence that the market has in Elon Musk. And he has a lot of confidence. It's just true. Morant disagrees with me on this, though, I think.
No, I wasn't listening.
Oh, you fucking asshole. Anyway, on that note, though, we're going to finish this video, and then I'm going to run the last 3-minute ad break, and then I'm going to go hang out with my brother.
But treating him as some kind of god king who deserves to be making massive decisions for things like free speech and democracy, or has any right drilling weird mole rat tunnels under the city of Los Angeles for no apparent reason, is just not something we need to be doing.
That's like, that in and of itself in a normal society, if the stock market or if like, you know, business and enterprise worked in the way that it does in econ textbooks, Elon Musk would be laughed out of every fucking room. Like they'd be like, remember when you thought you invented tunnels and then somehow made a way worse and less efficient fucking tunnel? Like, get the fuck out of here. What we're going to trust you with spaceships? Dude, fuck off.
Billionaires like Elon Musk have immense PR teams that work around the clock to ensure that the cultural narrative around him is a good one. We don't need to be helping him for free. As always, guys, thank you for watching.
This was great. Loved this video, by the way. Straight up. Respect. Financial Diet. Great channel.